Welcome, Black Hollywood Live fans. On today's Fit Club, we talk mental health, addiction, and more with Navy SEAL and transformed author Remi Adeleke. Stay tuned.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Welcome, Fit Clubbers. We are back with an all-new episode, and we are joined with my special guest, Mr. Remi Adeleke.
What's up, man?
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Again, guys, my name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
And you can find me on everything at TK Trinidad.
And Mr. Adeleke, where can they find you?
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Remi Adeleke.
Nice. Everywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we got some stories we want to do, but the title of this book that we're going to get into a little bit later is called Transformed, a Navy SEAL's Unlikely Journey from the Throne of Africa to the Streets of the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, is this the Black Panther Part 2? Or what?
Nah, they stole my story, man. This is the prequel to what they stole, man.
So we are very excited to dig into that a little bit later, but
Thank you, man.
we got some great stories, and we'll find a little bit about your background.
Yes, sir.
The first story is a new study that actually showed success in exercise treatment for psychiatric patients. And what was really remarkable about this came out of University of Vermont. It showed improvement for anxiety, depression, but schizophrenia, suicidal thoughts, and active acute psychotic episodes. And what they're saying is to turn to that before we turn to the drugs.
Yeah.
And you know, I see that wave happening, and it's no longer pseudoscience. It's actually science because it's backed up. How did you kind of deal with just all the stress and maybe the depression that comes with? I know you left, you had some depression, and maybe just dealing with being a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, you know, a lot of in SEAL training, they teach us the 4 pillars of mental toughness, and I won't go down all of them, but you know, one of them is self-talk, you know, and that's, well, positive self-talk. So it's really, you know, talking to yourself, telling you, I could do it, I could keep moving, I'll get through this. Especially in fitness, you know, you have to be able to, you have to utilize self-talk in order to push yourself past your perceived limit. Another pillar of mental toughness that we touch on in SEAL training is arousal control, and that's finding something that calms you down. For everybody, it's different. For some people, it's music. You know, for other people, it's meditation. For some people, it's prayer. Oh, God bless you.
Thank you.
For some people, it's just a breathing technique. So you know, I try to incorporate all of these principles when I'm struggling with any type of depression, which I don't go through as much as I used to, or when I'm going through my work and I'm just really trying to push myself.
Yeah, they should incorporate those in school.
Oh, yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
could use that.
Absolutely.
And they don't, in school, at least the way it was in my school, it wasn't like something to look forward to, something that was involving self-care. It was almost, you didn't look forwed to that period of working out.
Yeah.
That PE period wasn't fun.
What?
That was my favorite
you go
class.
to?
They made it was like a chore. It wasn't fun. It was like, so they didn't really promote physical fitness and wellness, you know.
Yeah.
So for me.
Well, I mean, you know, Canadian education is.
And so the next story, kind of in the same vein, they found that a study found that CBD is effective in treating heroin addiction and it reduced people's craving for heroin addiction as well as their levels of anxiety. And currently, there's only 2 drugs that are used to get people off of heroin, and they're opioid-based drugs. So they're not widely used or prescribed because you know, you don't want the second danger of getting addicted to opioids. And now they're using this plant-based medicine. For you've always tried to avoid the medication route altogether.
Yeah. No, I do. I don't like you. I've never liked using medication, and I think it kind of goes back to I didn't like alcohol either. One of the reasons why I didn't like alcohol is because I didn't like not being in control of my body, and one reason, and that's the same reason why I don't like medication, because medications can alter different parts of your body, can alter your mind, and I just don't like being in control. So what I do, I've always tried to take the holistic approach. For example, you know, I have arthritis in both my knees, and I'm 36, about to be 37 years old. I shouldn't have arthritis, but you know, I do because of the job that I have, and instead of using medication, you know, I juice ginger. I juice kale, broccoli every morning. I add a green apple, celery, and some strawberries, and that's where I get my medication. And I don't drink coffee either. You know, I don't like coffee.
And with this, while you were in the SEAls, you were doing this as well?
Same
no
thing when I was
coffee in the SEALs?
No coffee. I've never drank coffee.
If I were in the Navy SEAls, I would definitely need to.
Because to me, coffee is a medication. It's caffeine, right?
So,
you know.
I don't drink coffee either.
And where did that come from? Or did you make a conscious decision at like 10 or 11? Like, how did you come to that?
You know, I think it comes from my mom, you know, because my mom never drank coffee.
Mine too. That's what I noticed with people's families. Like, if their family tends to drink coffee, you pick up like those habits. My folks don't drink coffee at all, so I never was, you know, liked it at all. So
Yeah, no, for me, it started in college and it almost felt like a drug, but then I performed just better when I drank coffee, so that's why I got addicted to it.
Well, they also have to do tests with the CBD too, because it's like, even though they're using, it's natural and holistic, we don't know the long-term effects, and that's the same thing with everything else. It's like, it's okay, well, it's natural and holistic, it's good for you. Like the Impossible Burger. Yeah. That thing was like the craze literally for 2.5 weeks, and now they're saying that, it's not good for you because it has too many GMOs in it and all this other stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Don't tell me I ate an Impossible Burger 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Y'all trying to kill me.
Yeah.
But it's got to be better than the meat, though, right?
Well, but that's what I'm saying, though, because we really don't know. Obviously, if you eat it every day, it's something.
I ain't eating another Impossible Burger.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you can just do it, once in a while. But, it's like everything that you eat.
And even with the CBD, like it's plant-based, but they're turning it into a medicine. And this is actually the first medicine. It's called Epidiolex. It's the first one where it's quantified the exact amount. And like it's, standard. Whereas most CBD medicines, you don't have that.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly what they're mixing it with, too. Because it's not just straight.
Yeah, if it's not.
And is every CBD oil, is that regulated by FDA?
No, this is the only one that is, the Epidiolex.
Okay.
The others, and there's a billion others now.
Yeah,
but
that's what you got to worry about,
And so that's the thing. So even though there are these plant-based alternatives, it's really, you got to be your own best sort of keeper of that because you got to make sure that I'm getting the right thing from the right person.
Exactly.
So, the third story I really want to talk about is CrossFit. Yeah. So my first introduction to Navy SEALs was, I think I told you, a friend of mine wanted to be a SEAL, and he told me about CrossFit years before it was popular. And there was
started in the SEAL team. Really.
And I didn't tell you, he told me to open a CrossFit gym, and I was like, it'll never take off. It's already been in the SEALs for so long, it hasn't caught on yet.
Well, it's too late. It's slowly dying.
But you had CrossFit Murph, and a lot of people like to do this for Memorial Day to honor Lieutenant Murphy, Michael Patrick Murphy, who was killed in Afghanistan. And the workout goes like this. It's a beast of a workout. 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, a 1 mile run. So I've done this before. I love the workout. How do you attempt a workout like this? And then you had developed your own ways to work out as well. And I want to hear kind of what principles inform that.
Yeah, for me, because I was in the teams, I had to do a lot of CrossFit. It was just what was mandated for us for the most part. But then, when I got deeper into my career in teams and then later out the teams, I just started creating my own workouts that modified CrossFit. Because one thing that I personally don't like about CrossFit for myself, not anybody else, I'm just speaking for myself, is you sacrifice. I don't like the concept of sacrificing technique for speed. Right. And being at the age I am, I have 2 degenerated discs in my lower back.
You are not that.
I'm telling you. Okay.
For the second time before you started the show, I was like, oh damn, you 63, you look good.
I'm actually, in reality, I'm about 54. I'll explain why. They say that going through SEAL training, add 7 years to your life.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone through all of SEAL training twice. Yeah. So 14 years plus, I'm 36.
Yeah,
I'm
but
about
did you have the black factor, though? You got
negatives. Ain't no black factor coming into play in SEAL training. Because they try to kill you in SEAL training. But, I have a torn labrum in my right hip, a torn labrum in my right shoulder, 2 degenerated discs in my back, 2 degenerated discs in my neck. My body is not, I just learned how to work around it. And part of that is creating workouts that are circuit training workouts, but that are not putting extra stress on those injuries. Right. So I like to keep my heart rate up, and I like to mix it up. So I'll go from the pull-up bar to push-ups to jumping on the bench, but I'm not speeding through it. I'm doing nice reps, but I'm keeping my heart rate up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what CrossFit gym you go to, where you're starting from. Like, I came from a sports background, so when I started doing CrossFit, we learned all those Olympic lifts at Oregon, so it was very easy for me to transition. But I've also seen the flip side where people are, doing deadlifts and, pretty much almost blowing out their back. So, but the thing is, CrossFit, the owner of CrossFit's actually changing it up more. It's less competitive and more community, to the point that today they actually took out all CrossFit's social media handles. So apparently they're making a big announcement in the next week or so.
Really? What do you mean they took out all the social media?
Meaning their CrossFit Instagram page is They
They
deleted
call it
it.
like
Yeah,
something
Oh, wow.
holistic and different.
No,
and,
it's they deleted it.
Yeah.
And a lot of
wow.
CrossFit gyms now are becoming they're taking, because I think it costs like $3,000 or something to have the name CrossFit attached to your gym. So a lot of gyms are just becoming like, boot camp-esque type gyms or, bulk
Interesting.
athletics. So, they're changing that because of the so many injuries that was happening.
It was a Navy SEAL
Right.
workout, yeah.
So now they're kind of making it more family focused. It's like, we're focused on the family versus everybody who's trying to go to the games.
Yeah, because not only was it a Navy SEAL workout, people were doing as prescribed, like the
yeah.
Navy SEAL workout. They weren't modifying them for people that are living just an active
Well,
lifestyle.
they have RX. People were, you had to prescribe them, people were modifying.
Yeah, but in the very beginning, people were just like, I want to be hardcore, because we were all going for it, and we were like comparing scores, and people were posting. And I remember thinking, this can't be safe for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff you just can't do. If you do a bar muscle up, it's like.
Your shoulders, I mean.
And so, what's your number one, I guess, advice in terms of self-care? Because you still train. So what's your number one advice for taking care of yourself while you're training under these circumstances?
Oh, man, I got a lot of tips. One, don't be afraid to take a rest.
Yeah.
Day, not a rest during your workout, like a day. I think where I've seen a lot of good growth is when, I just decide, I'm going to take 4 days off.
Yeah.
And for a person that's fit, that's hard. Like, I'm gonna take 4 days off. But you really give your body and those muscles time to repair, especially if you're putting the right foods in your system. Which brings me to my next point: what do you eat? What are you putting in your system? That helps me. Like water, I just drink water. Like I juice in the morning, but throughout the day I drink water, and then I try to listen to my body. I think that's another part of staying fit. Is there are times when my body will literally tell me I need sugar. Like I'm craving sugar, and so what I do is I keep ginger beer in my house. It's like a pop.
Yeah.
And so when my body's craving that ginger, I just sugar. I drink that. With my workouts, again, I try to keep my workouts where my heart rate is staying elevated, and to me, cardio is the most important workout because the most important muscle in the body is the heart. You know what I mean? Because you could do 1,000 push-ups, you could do a bench 1,000,000 pounds, but if that heart ain't strong, you're not gonna live as long as you. I mean, look, we all know people who are super fit, but they died of
and heart disease on the rise.
and heart disease. So, That answers your question?
Yeah, absolutely on self-care. But we want to dig more into this book, Transform, this epic title.
Yeah.
Let's just get the story of how you decided to actually pull the trigger on writing the book, because it was a great story that came from Kathy Lee.
Yeah. So for years, people have been telling me, Remi, you need to write a book. And for years, I said no. And then I went on a Today Show because I was in the film Transformers. And so I was part of the press tour. And while I was on the show, Kathy Lee Gifford, she heard part of my story. She said, you need to write a book. And your book needs to be, made into a film. And then when we got backstage, she reiterated this. And I kind of told her no. And she said, why? And I said, explain to her the stigma that's attached to SEALs who do write books. And she said, Remi, I know your heart would be to write the book in a way to inspire people, not in a way to beat your chest. And she said, you need to write this because you can inspire so many people with your story. And so that was the push that essentially got me to write the book. Then she took me to the publisher and,
nice.
Told him, hey, you better sign this guy to a deal before I take him somewhere else. And that's how it all came together. Yeah.
That's amazing. And with the publisher, and I think probably something you probably learned in the SEALs was to kind of listen to yourself and be your own kind of person and agent.
Yeah.
So you had some back and forth with a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
And so how did you find, I guess, that voice to say, wait a minute, I need to come through and tell this?
Oh yeah, there's so much more to that story, but just to kind of compact it. Yeah. So originally my mom was supposed to write the book, and there was a fear, and this is a lesson I try to teach people all the time: is never let your fear or the fear of others keep you from doing what you're called to do. I let fear keep me from writing my book. And so my mom, she wrote the first 2 chapters, and after I read it, I was just like, it's not me, it's not my voice, it's not my story, it's her story. And so I started all over and wrote up to chapter 14. I turned it into the publisher. The publisher was like, this is great writing, but they felt like the way I was writing the book would end up being a 200,000 word book. In my mind, I knew I was going to go back and cut stuff to keep it compact, but then that made this question arise in my mind, well, what is my word count? And the publisher said, well, you're contracted for 60 to 80,000 words. I was like, what? 60, how can I tell all the stories 60,000? Because it was my first time writing a book, so I didn't know. So anyway, we went back and forth, and finally the publisher said to me, you know what, okay, you could turn in a book, but it can't be more than 130,000 words. So I was like, perfect. But they were like, can you hire a ghostwriter? And so I was like, all right, I'll compromise.
What you're supposed to do. That's what they told you to do. Yeah.
I hired a ghostwriter. So I hired this guy, and I flew a week after I hired him. I flew out to meet with his assistant, and I dictated the last half of my story to her, and she took that, transcribed it on the paper, and turned it into the writer. And a month later, he called me up and he said, "Hey, man," he's like, "I got the first 3 chapters done." And he sent it to me, and I read the first line. I was like, nope. I read the second line. Nope. I read the third line. I'm like, absolutely not.
That's a disheartening feeling because you're like, this is my story.
And I had a month and a half left to turn in the book, so I'm like, now I'm like sweating. Just leave it at that. And so, long story short, I sent him. I rewrote the first chapter he sent me, sent it to him. He read it the next day. He read the first half of my book that night, and then he came back to me. He's like, "Hey, dude, you're a really gifted writer." He's like, "I'd hate to lose this job, but I really feel like you're the one that needs to write this book." And so I told the publisher I'm letting him go, and the publisher's like, "No, don't let him go. We're not gonna have a book." And I could have let that fear make me stick with him, but I was just like, I just knew that something inside of me, my heart was telling me, Remi, you need to write this book, you need to write this story, and so I wrote it, and that's what we have today. We have this book, yeah.
And one thing I was astounded by, because that story is great, but when it comes to money is a real issue.
Yeah,
right?
I paid that dude $10,000. I still ain't getting my money back for that, man. $10,000 is a lot of money, man. Hot. I'm still hot about that, BJ.
Like, where's my money?
Well, I mean, at least he was like, kudos to him for seeing like, I don't want to take any more of your money. You're gifted.
Yeah.
Because he could have been like, nah, like, I'm gonna keep rewriting it, and then a month and a half later, when it's due,
and you gotta use it.
I'm too hood to let him keep writing. I'm too street. I wasn't gonna let him keep writing.
Well, there's that moment where I read you had the choice to either have to pay back $100,000 if you decide to not do the book, or you get to keep 50. So like you literally went. It wasn't just believing in yourself. I'm gonna write my story. It's like literally now it's just money.
Yeah, I put all the chips on my. I put it all in my own. I put all the chips on me.
So how did you, or where did you find that strength, or did you learn that somewhere that now it's time to ante up and you were willing to do so? Because I think people might have taken a step back at that point and say, you know what, let me walk away with 50 and then try this again.
$50,000 is a lot of money. A big part of it was my mom. My mom, she's an awesome lady, and she always instilled in me the importance of whatever you do it with excellence. Don't have, I ain't gonna curse, but my mom used to always say, don't have nothing. She always saying. So, that was the one thing. I knew that I did it right. I had confidence, and that's what I try to tell people. Never show up to anything unprepared, because your confidence comes from how prepared you are. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew that I was prepared because I had done the work day in and day out, stayed up till 2:30 in the morning, writing, woke up at 6:30 in the morning, got back to the computer, wrote, studied, researched, checked my grammar. I did all of those things. Right. So what helped me was the fact that I was confident in the work that I did because I knew that my mom had instilled this characteristic in me to do it with excellence. And then another thing, my mom, she read the book that weekend before I turned it into the publisher. She was just like, Remi, this is an amazing book. Like, you need to turn this in, So it was a $50,000 gamble, but I won.
I mean, and to be honest, when your only advice is from your mom, you got to wonder, like, does she really think this is good? This mom doesn't love me.
But my mom is, dude. I'll tell you something about my mom. My mom keeps it real.
Yeah,
so she would have told you.
My mom would have been like, "Yo, this is garbage."
Yeah, let's get that 50 and call it a day.
My mom would be like, keep the $50,000. My mom's real though, and that's what I love about my mom. She's always kept it real with me, and she's not afraid to tell me, Remi, you messing up. And there's a story in the book where I share how my mom is real, because I was in a relationship with this girl and I was messing it up, and my mom called me up and she was just like, Remi, have I ever gotten in your business when it relates to relationship? I said, no, Ma. Okay, did this girl do something wrong to you? I said, no, Ma. She said, okay, now that I know the facts, now I'm gonna get at you. She said, stop acting like a fool. She's like, you need to act right. My mom keeps it real. You know what I'm saying? So,
and we need that. We all need that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I think most people can't necessarily relate to wanting to be a Navy SEAL, but whether it's just trying to get to a workout or like trying to get serious about their health and fitness, you said that when you decided to become a SEAL, it was something that clicked. What was it that clicked? Because now you have to, you decide to become a SEAL. You have to step up your training. Your level got to go to a different level. Yeah. How do you decide to show up day in or day out? How can the average person make that click?
I mean, I hope this answer is not as simplistic as it seems, but it is simplistic. You just got to do it.
Oh my gosh. Like, I
that.
really posted that today.
Yeah.
You just
got to do it. It's like you got to commit to the process. You know what I mean? And you got to remember, when I decided that I wanted to be a SEAL, I could not swim.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a huge component.
I did not have the academic scores, and I was skinny. And so, but I committed, and that just shows that no matter what your deficiency is or how far you are from your dream, if you can commit to the process, you could achieve that dream. And so that's a big piece to it. And then another piece for me was I did not have a plan B.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe. You know, let me make sure I say this right. There are circumstances where it's important to have a plan B, right? Little things, like if I say I want to go to, what's a restaurant I hear that's real good?
Yeah.
Gracias Madre.
There you go.
Gracias Madre.
So
let's say my plan is so good. So let's say my plan is to go. Plan A is to go to Gracias Madre. That's right, right?
Gracias Madre.
Gracias. I'm sorry, I failed Spanish in high school. I'm sorry. So let's say that's my plan, and I get there and it's like a 5-hour wait.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
If I try to stick to that plan A, I'm going to be starving by midnight. I got to have a plan B. Plan B is I'm going to go somewhere else to eat. But when it comes to like big life-changing decisions, or when it comes to like big like dreams, goals, I don't believe in plan Bs. Because on your journey towards your plan A, guess what's going to happen? You are going to face obstacles. You are going to have setbacks. Things are going to happen. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days like, man, this sucks, man. On my way to plan A, this freaking sucks, man. And the more obstacles you face on your journey towards your plan A, the more attractive that plan B looks.
Yeah, and it might come like the 50,000. It might come before the plan A. Like, okay, yeah.
I mean, that plan B is fine as wine, right? And so my thing is no plan B. Burn the boat, so to speak. You know, it's like burn the boat, storm the beach. You better take that beach because ain't no way you're gonna be able to swim across the Atlantic, right? And so that's what it was for me. I just was committed to that one plan A, and that's how I try to, even with writing the book. You know, for me, after that whole thing happened with the ghostwriter, and I took over, I had a month and a half to turn in a book. And, you know, there was
That's
no
just like panic.
So my plan A was I am going to finish writing this book. There is no plan B. There is no, I'm going to ask for an extension. It's going to get done, you know. And so, again, that's what it was, man.
Yeah, and what I loved hearing was that this kind of arose out of a second chance from a recruiter that helped you out. And you kind of tried to come full circle and help others out and try to help create second chances. Tell me a little bit about that.
So when I went to go join the Navy, you know, there are certain things that the recruiters have to do in order to make sure you qualify. And one of those things is they have to run a background check. And when she ran my background, she found out that I had 2 warrants out for my arrest. I had a warrant in New York and a warrant in New Jersey. And instead of turning me into the police, what she did was she took me to both judges and she advocated on my behalf.
Wow.
You know, she was just
I didn't
like,
get the full story. She went above and beyond.
She went above and beyond, and she told him, listen, this guy's trying to join in the military. He's made mistakes, but he has potential. I cannot allow him into the military with a record. And, you know, both judges unanimously expunged my record on her word. And then she went a step further. When we got to MEPS, she fudged the paperwork at the MEPS and snuck me into the Navy. And literally, that's how I was able to get into the Navy. And so, and that changed the trajectory of my life. I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the Navy, the SEAL teams, like all of that. That one decision is why I am where I am now today. And, you know, God rest her soul, you know, she died 4 years after doing that for me. And so for me, you know, my thing is, my whole life purpose now is to get back to other people, is to serve other people, you know, like, you know, be what I wished I had when I was the age of the kids that I work with, and which leads me to my nonprofit. I work with a nonprofit called the Mesa City Hope. CityHopeNow.org is a website, and it's a mentorship program. You know, I hang out with kids in the inner city. I mentor them. You know, I go to their schools when they get into trouble, sit with them at lunch, just do all of these things to try to be a father figure to help get them on the right path.
Yeah, and you said you define this as your purpose now.
Yeah, it is my purpose. I mean, you know what? You know, I try to tell, for me, I think my turning point was when I was 26. That's when the light switch went off in my head, and that's when I was just like, you know what, life is not about me anymore. You know, life is just, I've lived my life. I've achieved all the things that I wanted to achieve. You know, it's not about me, it's about other people. So absolutely everything that I do, from writing a book to speaking to running my business, it's all to be able to give back. You know what I mean? I know that might sound, well, at the end of the day, when I die, I'm not going to be able to leave. I'm not going to be able to take I ain't going to be able to take nothing with me. You know what I mean? Even the clothes that they can bury me in, moths and rats and rodents and all, chew that all up, right?
They just approved you can compost now, and I forget what state approved it. You can compost human remains.
Compost, that's all it's going to be like, whatever that means, right? And so the question is, what legacy am I going to leave above the ground, right? And so my thing is, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave something for people, whether it's inspiration, whether it's some type of financial benefits for my kids or for other people, some type of endowment. I just want to be able to leave something, stories, just, you know. A legacy. A legacy. It's not about me anymore, man.
And where do you see, though, let's not fast forward too far to legacy. Let's go 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where I see myself in 5 years, man, I see myself, you know, making movies, man, writing, producing, just doing big blockbusters.
Yeah, because I commented this is like Black Panther too, you're actually turning this into a movie or going towards that route.
Yeah. So I've even before I finished writing the book, I was approached by major studios and executives about the rights to the book to turn into a film, and that's when, you know, having the mindset that I have, I was like, wow, people are coming to me already. I need to create more content, so when the book comes out, I have something else. And so that's when I started writing films, and you know, I wrote my first film, The Chameleon, which is an espionage thriller. We get ready to take that to market. I'm working on my second film now, which is a historical story about one of the first group of African Americans to serve in special operations. It's a fascinating story, and you know, I got other films and stuff that I'm working on, and so that you know, 5 years from now, making movies, movie after movie, TV shows, just inspiring the world through the power of story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important to see, like, you know, different folks, especially like in the military. When you see like military movies, you're seeing one type of military movie, and there's so many versions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's nice to see, you know, a different story. Like, we're not just that monolith. Like, you know, we're all, you know, from the hood or something.
And there are not that many African Americans that are Navy SEALs.
No, I think it's less than one. I was like around the 50th in the history of the SEAL teams.
Oh, wow.
You know, since 1962 they were established. So there's not many, and that, again, that goes back to one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I wanted young African Americans, you know, to hear my story and be like, wow, like, I never seen a Black SEAL before. I never heard a story like this. Oh, I come from where he comes from. Like, I could do this.
Yeah, there's other options than being a rapper or a
basketball player or a drug dealer or whatever.
And this was like single mom, and she moved from Africa. We didn't tell her first half the story. She had to move from Africa on her own with you.
Yeah, man. My dad was I was born in the riches. You know, I was born in the wealth. You know, and you know, when, long story short, the Nigerian government stripped our family of pretty much everything, our financial assets. My dad died, and my mom was left penniless, and so she had to pick up and move my brother and I to the States permanently. And you know, I grew up in the Bronx.
It's like Africa, the Bronx, and then you're Navy SEAL, then you're in Transformers, then you meet with Kathy Lee, and she's telling you, I'm going to get you a book deal. That's crazy. This is an incredible story. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Something we like to do, we can do something called Fit Club 5, where we ask you 5 rapid fire questions just for the viewers to get to know you. And TK will go ahead and start asking these questions.
All right. So, dream dinner guest.
Dream dinner guest. Oh, wow, that's a good one.
Alive or dead? Alive or dead?
You hit me. You hit me with a hard one, man. Dream dinner guest. I would say Jesus.
Yeah.
If you were to listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, wow. One album for the rest. You gotta hit me with some hard ones, man. One album for the rest of my. I listen to scores.
Okay.
I love scores, so I would listen to a compilation of Hans Zimmer's scores. A compilation album of Hans Zimmer's scores. I love scores.
Favorite junk food?
Peanut M&Ms.
That kind of counts.
Okay,
That's candy. It's not good. Yeah, it's not great for you.
If you were a crayon, what color would you be?
Gray.
And if you were on death row, what would be your last meal?
Some type of barbecue.
There you go.
Yeah.
5.
I think we dig those. Well, again, we just want to thank you for joining us. This has been incredible.
No, thank you for having me.
And just, do you have, what's your word of wisdom for those who are struggling to overcome that thing in their life? Because you've overcome so many. What's your thing that you think would help those right now?
Yeah, never let failure define you. Never let failure define your future. None of us are immune from failing. We are all going to fail at some point in our life at something. We're all going to have setbacks. We're all going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad days. But you can't let those moments define your future. Instead, you got to find the lessons within that failure. And then use those lessons for your future. That's just something, especially for young people, because it's so easy to see we see the end result for basketball players, actors, rappers, business people, doctors. We see the B. Yeah. And we don't see the A to B. And this book is an A to B story. And when we just see the B so often, we don't see what the people had to go through to get to that B, and then we're at the A, and we keep facing these obstacles, and we just throw our hands up and say, well, it's not meant to be, or whatever, because that person's at B, and how did they get to B?
They're lucky,
And so, just realize you are going to have setbacks, but just keep, as we say in the SEAL teams, Charlie, Mike, continue mission.
Yeah, nice. It's crazy. The humble poet was on the Breakfast Club today, and he was saying that everybody expects for this to be the fairy tale ending. Yeah. And the gag is we all, no matter rich, poor, whatever, go through some type of setbacks. Yeah. So once you realize that, then you realize okay, it's not just me, and you can keep pushing through.
Absolutely.
You have kids okay, well, once I get to 25, I'm gonna be good. Nah, son. Yeah.
Failure's a part of it.
Yeah, there's more life to live. I think that was really really good tie-in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's all about failing better, I guess, right? Yeah, try to fail better the next time.
Fail upward.
Well, again, thank you so much. It's been incredible.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Guys, my name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
And you can find me on everything at TK Trinidad.
Mr. Adeleke.
Remi Adeleke, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
Ciao.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.